How I got my green card without a family or an employer petition. Let me start by saying that you are going to need a lawyer for legal guidance and for legal advice, and I'm not a lawyer. But this video is going to provide you an idea on one of the routes that you can take. If you do find an employer, mostly those are for tech for tech-based jobs. They call it the STEM: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So if your job falls under one of those categories, then you do have a chance. You have a better chance of getting a job offer while you are still in your home country. But if you're a white-collar worker, there's not a lot of options. For nurses, foreign graduate nurses, it's Canada and Mexico. Both countries have a partnership with the US, which makes it easier for nurses that graduated from those countries to get a job here through the TN visa something. There is also a recent development. The Congress actually passed a bill that will lift the limit of the tech jobs that is allotted to the countries. Right now, every country has a limit as to when it comes to the number of petitions that are going to be approved. So it's usually 7%, I think. So if there are 100 people that are getting petitioned by employers here, 7% will get approved. So for countries that have millions and millions of petition going on, then some of them actually have to wait decades. Now, if the bill gets passed, that means everybody's gonna be on equal footing, which is an advantage for countries like China and India because they have a lot of petitions that are pending. And it's going to be a disadvantage for other countries who have fewer applicants who don't actually wait. So there are a number of options that you can take, and one of that would be self-petition, which is what I did, or EB1. EB1, or Employment-Based Petition 1, is a little ironic when it comes to the name because you do not actually need an employer here to petition you. As I've said, you're petitioning yourself. There are 3 different types. EB1A, which is extraordinary ability. EB1B, outstanding professor or researcher. EB1C, which is for multinational executive. There is also EB2, national interest waiver, but that's another post and that's a little different. What I did is EB1A, which is for extraordinary abilities. Since my body splits in half during the full moon and I can see through toilet doors. I'm kidding. So that's what I did. It's for people with extraordinary abilities. Essentially, this is for those with sustained national or international success in sciences, arts, education, business, or athletics. In other words, if you can prove that you are successful and that you have sustained that success on a national level or international level, then you're qualified. So it can be arts, education, business, athletics, even technology, I think. So if you're a recognized painter, for example, and you can provide evidence that you have had successful exhibits, that you've sold your paintings for considerable amount, that things have been written about you on nationally recognized publications, not just websites, but actual publications, or that you've had the opportunity to judge other works in national competitions, then you qualify. If you're a writer, which is what I actually am, you can provide proof that you've published books or movies, just like what I did, and that people have written things about you or what you have done, what you have published or what you have written, then that's good. If you have written things that have been published on, as I've said, national publications, that's good. If you've been a judge on any competition, or if you're a member of an organization whose membership is actually based on your expertise or achievements, you can do that. If you're a teacher or an educator and you've published scholarly articles or books about education, if you're an athlete and you've won international medals in international competition, or a dancer and then you've won international competition, or you've gone on tour and you've had your own show and things have been written about those shows. It's not a very popular route to take because it's very hard to prove. You can't just, it has to be quality evidence. So for example, if you say somebody has written an article about your work or an article about you, it can't be just some WordPress blog. It can't. It has to be a recognized publication in your country, if not an international publication. So what kind of evidence do you need to provide? There are 10 categories of evidence and you need to provide 3 of those 10 at the minimum. Of course, if you can provide more, then better. Evidence of receipt of lesser nationally or internationally recognized prizes or awards. Let's say you won a writing competition if you're a writer. You can provide it as an evidence, but it can't be just a competition held in some city. It has to be a nationwide competition. If you won a competition, a songwriting competition, if it is a nationally recognized writing competition, better. If you won an award in your country for the movie that you directed or acted on, then that qualifies. Second, evidence of significant one-time achievement. So if you won an Olympic medal or as an Asian Games medal, then I think that's good. International pageants like Miss Universe, Grammy Awards, Pulitzer, Nobel, as long as it's on an international level and it has to be big. Next, evidence of your membership in associations in which the main qualification is your achievement in your field or recognized expertise. So if you're a member of Mensa, any organization where you can only be a member of if you're a recognized expert or if you have achieved something to become a member of that organization, then that qualifies. Evidence of published material about you. This is going to be confusing. There are 2 different kinds of publications that you can provide as an evidence. One is a publication about you or a publication that you authored. Okay, so it's something that you wrote or something that somebody wrote about you or your work. They have to be nationally recognized, respected. It has to be an established one. And if it is not written in English, then you have to translate that in English. Evidence that you have participated in judging the work of others. So for example, if there is a national writing competition and you have been invited to judge the works that were submitted, that qualifies. If you're a judge in an international sport like diving, for example, evidence of your original scientific, scholarly, artistic, athletic, or business-related contribution of major significance to your field. So for example, if you've developed a technology that is now being consumed or is being used by different organizations or people, then that qualifies. Evidence that you command a high salary in your field. So you're going to have to provide tax returns. I think there's a way for them to calculate or get the industry standard, how much others are getting paid and how much you get paid. If you're a painter, how much you sell your paintings. If you're a writer, how much you get paid for whatever it is that you're writing. Lastly, evidence of your commercial success in performing arts. So if you're an actor or a dancer or a singer, if you can provide them copies of your CDs and the sales, evidence of how many that you've sold. I have written books, movies. I gave them a copy of the script, a copy of the DVD, copy of the posters, write-ups. Even for the books, I actually submitted the actual book, so it was translated in English. And then what else? Membership in some of the organizations. I've been invited as judge to some competitions. So I used to write speeches for some senators and the former president of my country. Whenever the senators and the president would use a speech that I wrote, then I would get an actual invitation from them. I haven't actually won an award, but I've been nominated, and I've written articles that were published in magazines and newspapers. And then the salary, so I presented tax returns. I'm not really sure how my lawyer got the national standard in my country as to how much others are getting paid and how much I get paid, but she was the one who took care of it. The disadvantages and advantages. First, the good side. The advantage is you're not really reliant on an employer here for your petition. If you do EB2 and EB3, that's a different post. Then both you and the employer are going to get investigated. So the employer will have to provide proof that they're in good standing and that they can actually afford you, and that they can't get somebody else in the US to fill up your position. If you do EB1, then it's just all you. Another one is that you are not actually going to be tied to any employer. So for EB2 and EB3, it is advisable that you stay for several years with the employer that petitioned you. Otherwise, it's going to affect when you renew your green card, which you have to do every 5 years if you don't apply for citizenship or if you don't become a citizen. The processing time is usually faster. It's not always faster, but usually it's faster because there are fewer people who are actually exploring this route, and so it's usually current. Current means there's no backlog. So if you submit your application, they will be able to process it the same month. Essentially, that's what current means. Disadvantages is that it is solely based on your achievement, that nobody else is actually helping you through it aside from your lawyer. It's highly subjective, of course. There's a physical person that's actually reviewing all of your qualifications, and if that person doesn't think that you are qualified, that your achievement doesn't cut it, then you get disapproved. So it's also nerve-wracking. And then, of course, the preparation for it. You can't just have one article published and that's going to qualify you. It doesn't work that way. If you submit under one category, you can't just submit one. There has to be several things in that category. Other things to note: petition isn't the same as the change of status. So after you submit your petition, for EB1, you have the option of submitting both at the same time, or you can submit your petition first and then submit your change of status after your petition gets approved. Right now, it's becoming harder because they've required a final interview. So after your petition gets approved, before they approve your change of status or give you the green card, the actual green card, you're going to have to go through the final interview. And you have probably seen the news about all of those scary stories that happens during the interviews. There were actually some who were sent home after the interview because of something that they did in their past that affected their eligibility to get a green card. And then the cost. So for everything that you will be filing, there's a fee for that. So for EB1, there are several things that you need to file: the petition itself, the change of status, the temporary work permit. All in all, I think I paid about $1,600, if I'm not mistaken, right around that. That's not the exact number, but right around that, $1,600. Now, the legal counsel is a separate fee, so it depends on who you're gonna get. Of course, it can be as low as $5,000 to $1,200. It really depends who you're gonna get. And then the processing time. So from the time that I submitted the application to the time that I got the green card on my hand, mailed to me, physically with me, is 1 year and 9 months. Okay, so less than 2 years. But that is actually longer than usual because for some reason, just because it's my luck, there was a retrogression when it was my turn to get their green card. That means there was a sudden backlog. But then in between, there are things that you can do. So after submitting your application, after about 3 or 4 months, you can actually apply for a temporary work permit. And so that's going to allow you to legally work in the United States. And then while you're waiting, if the result hasn't gone out, then you can actually renew the work permit. Final tips. 1, document everything. All of your achievements. If you've done something, make sure that you have, or something has been published about you. You've attended a national convention, or you spoke in a national convention, or whatever it is. Make sure it's well documented. Photos, invitation. If you can do a PR about it, do so. And number 2, get a lawyer. It's going to cost you, but it's going to be worth it. EB1 is a very, very delicate process. Lastly, do well in your field, whatever it is. Do well, make a difference, do something, innovate. Don't just follow, actually innovate. Make a difference and make sure that people know about it. Yeah, that's it. That's the process that I went through. So if you have any questions, go ahead and ask me. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so it would still be best if you consult a lawyer based here. And good luck.